Here is something most UK aesthetic clinic owners do not realize. When a clinic stops growing, it is almost never one big thing that broke. It's actually 6 small ones, running quietly all at the same time. The pattern is identical in every clinic I open the books on. I've spent the last 2 years sitting with the financials of UK aesthetic clinics across the country. That ranges from solo nurses to multi-room teams, and clinics turning over 80,000 a year to well over £1 million a year. I'm exposed to different sizes, different locations, and different team setups, but always, it's the same pattern, every single time. In fact, it's not marketing, it's not the pricing, and it's not the motivation of the team or others. The cause is structural. It comes down to 6 pieces of clinic architecture that almost every clinic is stuck, has literally got wrong. And sadly, what I see most is the owners are often too close to see them. Now, if your clinic has been doing roughly the same number on the bank statement for about 6 months or even 12 months, and you can't work out why, this video is going to be for you. I'm going to walk you through all 6 hidden reasons that you actually feel stuck. Usually this is exactly what I do to diagnose these on a discovery call, but today I'm going to break it down exactly what that's costing you, why it's keeping a ceiling on your business, and the one thing you can actually do about it this week. By the end of the next 25 minutes, you will know which one of the 6 to apply to your clinic and exactly what to fix first. Guys, this is the conversation almost no one in the UK aesthetics industry is having out loud, so stay with me for a moment. In case we haven't met, I'm Nurse Sarah Louise. I have 15 years in the aesthetics industry. I'm an aesthetic nurse prescriber, a clinic owner of 9 years, and the founder and CEO of the business Injection. I built my own clinic from nothing, in a back garden, no money, no investors, no business background or experience. And there's something I want to be really honest with you about before I go into the hidden 6. I made every single one of these mistakes I'm about to describe in this video. I had 4 of these 6 running in my own clinic for the first 3 years, but I just couldn't see them. I made every single one of the mistakes I'm about to describe in this video. I had 4 of these 6 running in my own clinic for the first 3 years I was in business, but I just couldn't see them, probably much like yourself. The only reason I can see them now in other clinics is because I sat with my own books alone on more nights than I would like to admit, until the patterns made themselves extremely obvious. This is what I'm bringing to this video, not theory, not a coaching framework I picked up at a seminar, but from 15 years in the industry. These 6 structural mistakes I had to fix in my own business, and the patterns I've watched come up again and again across the cohort I work with now. First, the consultation you inherited from the NHS. Most aesthetics practitioners train somewhere clinical first, right? Usually in the NHS, public or the private sector. And this is where we were trained to assess, diagnose, and treat, trained to look at the patient, simply work out what they need, and tell them what we're going to do. And that training is excellent for medicine and most clinical competence. But it's almost counterintuitive for an aesthetics consultation. Because in aesthetics, the patient hasn't come in only to be diagnosed. In fact, they've come in for a result, a solution, and an answer. They want to feel different, look different, and carry themselves differently. The clinical assessment is part of the conversation, but it's not the entirety of that conversation. I want to show you all something that most of you are doing without you even realizing it. Now, envision this for a moment. The patient sits down, you open the conversation with asking what they want or what bothers them. They tell you. You assess their medical history and suitability, you tell them the price. They book the appointment or have the procedure, and then they leave. That right there is a transaction. That is not a consultation that connects you to your patient. And the cost of running clinical style consultations in an aesthetic setting is enormous and damaging on so many levels. Commercially, your average patient spend will stay low, usually somewhere between £120 and £150. And because of this, treatment plans often don't get created or completed. And this forces patients to leave with the one thing booked or purchased instead of a 6-month journey. So they go home, think about it, and a percentage of them book elsewhere. Now, that's not because you didn't have a beautiful clinic, a fabulous team, but because someone else was able to relate to what they actually wanted and developed a plan that met their exact needs. In actual fact, this is where I see a lot of practitioners rely heavily on what they see as building rapport and trust. That it becomes a conversation that is not led through authority and credibility, but a conversation that leads to no outcome and fails to prioritize the patient's aesthetic desires altogether. Now, here is the solution. In aesthetics, the consultation is not only where you assess clinically. It is where you connect emotionally and diagnose the patient and what they actually want through their feelings, which in turn will enable you to design a plan that leads to the real solution. Before I work with clinics, I ask what their challenges are. And one of the major pushbacks I often get from the teams in the businesses is that they feel they're pressuring the client or they feel the whole salesy. Inside the business injection, the framework we use, the precise protocol, which this is 7 stages, designed specifically for aesthetics, health, and wellness. And why I love it so much is that it connects emotional safety with the clinical authority. This framework is designed to ask outcome questions before you even assess the patient and gives you a really clear pathway to design and present a treatment plan without the need of feeling salesy. As practitioners, we know these 3 changes to a consultation will optimize clinical outcomes, but commercially will also increase average patient spend from as little as £100 to maybe over £200 in 12 weeks. I have firsthand witnessed this, and I've coached it and applied it also in my own clinic. The work you do is not harder or more time. It's just different, and it modifies what you currently do. The bonus is that it pays you back for what you actually know, but aren't implementing the right way. Here is the question to ask yourself. After your last 10 consultations, how many of those patients walked out with an actual treatment plan? Not a treatment booked, but an actual treatment plan, like a 6-month picture of what we're going to do together to achieve their aesthetic goals. If the honest answer is fewer than 5 out of 10, that is the first reason your clinic has stopped growing. In fact, I can literally diagnose what consultations have lacked and when by analyzing the average patient spend of most clinics. And this metric is really costing clinics a lot of money where they don't realize. Second, the rebooking that never got designed. Here is a question I ask every clinic owner who books a discovery call with me. Calculate all the patients who came through the door last month and how many of them left with their next appointment already booked in the system. If you don't know that number exactly on paper, you're guessing. And I can guarantee you that that number will not be what you actually think it is. Now, most clinic owners don't know the number. Some guess, and the honest ones say it's probably about 30%. The benchmark we work inside the business injection is 75%. Now, that gap between 30 and 75% is one of the single most expensive gaps in your business right now. And you're probably thinking, how on earth, Sarah? Let me show you what it does over 12 months. So let's look at these 2 clinics. Clinic A, 30% rebooking. Out of every 100 new patients, 70 of them don't return. The clinic spends only $300 a month on social media ads to fill the gaps. After 12 months, the patient base hasn't really grown, and the bank balance is roughly the same as it was at the start of the year. Now let's look at Clinic B. They have 75% rebooking figure, same 100 appointments with the same average patient spend. But after 12 months, the patient base has compounded, and the word of mouth referrals were now doing the work that they used to spend on the ads. This clinic is now at 175 appointments a month with the same average patient spend. And now their revenue lifts from around $17,000 per month to over $30,000 per month. Now, I need to be really clear. This is the same patients walking through the door, the same prices and the same hours worked. Now, the only difference is what happened at the end of every appointment. And this is the thing nobody's really sharing about rebooking. It is not a personality trait, whether they like you or whether they don't, or about whether you've built an incredible bond with them. It is because a system exists, a scripted, measured, repeatable conversation that happens at the end of every single appointment. Whether it's you in the chair or whether it's a team member, the rebooking conversation has a structure and has a sequence. It has a way of communicating around the next visit that doesn't and shouldn't feel like selling. Now, if you don't have a rebooking framework in place, written down, trained, and measured right now, you don't have a retention engine. You have a very big opportunity of missed patients, which eventually you'll have to increase your marketing spend for new patients to suffice that loss. I want you to do something important this week. Open your booking system and count the patients you saw in the last 4 weeks. Now, out of those patients, count how many of them left with the next appointment already booked. Turn that into a percentage. That number is your starting point. And now everything else flows from there. Remember, you can't fix what you can't see or measure. Third, pricing built on what other people charge. Most aesthetic clinic owners price very reactively. They look at what other clinics are charging local to them. Potentially, they look at Instagram, maybe on Treatwell, and then they land on a number that feels safe, usually slightly under the most expensive option in the area, as they want to be somewhat competitive. I need to be very clear, that is not pricing. That is guessing and putting you in the masses. Pricing built on what other people charge is the fastest way, I know, to permanently cap your business. Because you are pricing a fear of losing patients you haven't even met yet. You are pricing for the worst case version of your buyer. And in aesthetics, that buyer doesn't actually exist in the way you're imagining anyway. Now, premium aesthetic patients, they're not actually buying the cheapest option. They're buying the practitioner they trust the most. They buy expertise. They buy their patient experience, and they buy a solution. In fact, price is rarely their first criteria when choosing a clinic. Pricing competitively in this industry is literally a race to the bottom, and I cannot stress you enough. Now, how do we get away from that? The fix is to price based off your business model and not your competition. You need to decide what kind of clinic you are first. Are you mid-market positioning? Mid-market positioning is 150 to 220 pounds average spend per visit. Premium positioning is 250 to 300. And below 120, and a lot of clinics are running below 120, you're subsidizing your patients with your own time. Here's the question I love to ask clinic owners, the one most of them don't want to answer very honestly. Are you charging what you charge because you genuinely believe that is your value? Or because charging more makes you feel bad or unethical? Now, honest answers matter. I'm not asking you to raise your prices today. I'm not asking you to send out a price rise email this afternoon, but I am asking you to know which one of the two this is. Because charging based on value is a strategic decision. The other one is a fear decision dressed up as a strategic one. And until you tell yourself the truth about which one it is, you cannot make the right move. The clinics I work with who made the move from competitive pricing to value-based pricing all found the same thing. They lost a small percentage of price-sensitive patients at the start, but they kept the patients who valued them. And the result of that is far greater than just money and one time. At the end of the year, they had significantly higher revenue and significantly less work. Pricing for value is not greed or unethical. It is professional self-respect and what your training, your time, and your standards are actually worth. Quick interruption, because this is the right moment for it. Everything I've just walked through is exactly the kind of thing the revenue and risk audit template scores you on, including the average patient spend, rebooking rate, and your pricing position. There's a free version in the description below this video. It's only going to take you around about 20 minutes to complete, and it will tell you by the end where you are doing well or where you may need help. Now, most clinic owners come out of with 2 or 3 reds. That is normal before having things in place. That is, in fact, exactly why I built this video. Right, there is still 3 more to go. The next one is one most clinic owners don't even know they're sitting on. The fourth, the database you are spending money to replace. If you've been in clinic 18 months or more, you're sitting on the most valuable asset you have. And most of you are spending money to replace it. It's your database, guys. The list of every patient who's ever booked in with you. People who already know you, they like you, they trust you. They have given you their card details and their phone number. Pull that list right now. Look at how many haven't booked in the last 12 weeks. Now, for most UK aesthetics clinics, the answer is somewhere between 30 and 60%. So, roughly a third of your patient base is currently lapsed, sitting on your list, quiet, forgotten, and slowly drifting towards someone else, mind you. And while they sit there, you're off spending more money on Instagram ads, Google ads, and marketing funnels to bring new patients who've actually they've never met you. They don't even know you. They've never paid you. And in fact, they may never pay you. Let me describe a clinic owner I worked with. She was spending around £300 a month on social media ads. Her clinic had been open for around about 2 years. Beautiful work, she's a lovely Instagram presence. Her diary is about 3/4 full. We did an audit. She had over 60 patients on her database who hadn't booked in the last 12 weeks. So here's what we did. We sent just one warm message, not a discount, not a flash sale, not even a promotion, just a personal note which says something along the lines of, "Hi Mary, I was just thinking about you. It's been a while since I last seen you. Let's catch up on where you are with your skin goals." Throughout 4 days, 14 of those 60 patients had booked back in, which was around £5,000 of revenue. Remember, this is from people who already knew her, while spending nothing on advertising, acquiring no new patients, and no new pressure. Now that is the most underpriced asset in this industry. The database is not romantic or exquisite. It is not one of those exciting things that you want to talk about, and not exactly photography worthy for Instagram, right? But it is the cheapest, fastest, and most ethical way to grow a clinic in a tightening market right now. Remember, you're not buying attention, guys. You're simply honoring relationships you already have and providing a service. Remember, that call is a service, it is not a sale. And it should always be positioned that way. Inside the business injection, the triple R module, actually, the rebooking, retention, and the reviews. This is where we do reactivation campaigns and rebooking scripts that turn a patient list from a list into a lovely asset. Your move to make this week, pull a list of patients that have not been in the clinic for maybe 9 to 12 months. That number is your unsold inventory. And if the number shocks you, it's time to start doing this a lot more often. Fifth, the team that was hired but never trained to sell. This one is for the clinic owners with 1 to 4 staff members. It is the question I'm asked about the most often inside the program. My team are good clinically, but they just won't rebook. It's the same conversation like every single week. Owners are personally rebooking at around 80% and more, and their team is sitting at about 20 to 30%. And the owner gets frustrated, even though the team is uninformed and financially the clinic is losing potential revenue. And then the owner gets frustrated. And even though the team is uninformed, but financially the clinic is losing potential revenue every single day. Now, this is what is usually happening. And this I have to say clearly because most owners get this very wrong. The team have most likely been hired for their clinical skill. They've been trained for their clinical skill, and nobody has ever taught them that the rebooking conversation is a part of their job and why it benefits the patient rather than seeing this as a pushy sale. And no one has ever showed them what to say or even measured their performance. And in fact, nobody has ever held a 15-minute conversation each week to celebrate the good performance and then even coach the opportunities or the weaknesses or the gaps. Unfortunately, the fact is what becomes invisible gets completely deprioritized, always by every team member in every clinic in every industry. The fix is not motivation or finding better staff or even trying to pay them more. It is the TAP framework. This is a team alignments and performance framework. This is the work we do in week 4 in the business injection mentorship. It's about having the right people at the right seats. You start by writing down what good looks like for each role. You make the rebooking metric visible on a weekly dashboard, maybe even color code it green, amber, red, so everyone knows where they stand. You then have to train the actual rebooking conversation in role play, in a safe environment where the team can practice without a real patient in the chair. And then you can hold a 15-minute weekly check-in. This needs to be the same time every single week, which becomes an absolute non-negotiable in the business. And on top of this, which most clinics actually miss, you might need to tie incentives to the right metrics, not just revenue. You need to monitor and reward the rebooking rate, the reviews collected, and their utilization. Because incentives shape behavior, and behavior creates outcomes. With only revenue as a KPI, you have the potential to drive negative behaviors based on financial gain, loss of ethics, and team disruption. And I have witnessed this myself a lot. Now, a clinic owner I recently coached started with the gaps I just described. She had 80% rebooking, but her team had only about 28%. 2 months after the introduction of the TAP framework, the team was at around 64% and still increasing. Now, this was the same team with the same patients, just a different system and a different way of doing things. Now, of course, the move you need to make this week is count your team's rebooking rate and see where this sits. Remember, separately from yours. If you don't know it because no one's tracking it, well, that is the answer in itself. Sixth, the owner who is still the operating system. Now, guys, sadly, this is the one nobody likes to hear, especially the strong, controlling, I can do it myself practitioners. If you went on holiday tomorrow, let's say for 2 weeks, what would happen to your business? Be honest with yourself for about 30 seconds. Would the consultations still convert? Would the rebooking still happen? Would the team know what to do without you in the WhatsApp group answering every single question? Would the marketing go out? Would the supplier emails get answered? Would the new patient inquiries all get a reply maybe within a few hours? If the answer to most of those is no, well, you don't have a business. Sadly, you've built yourself a job that pays you very well, but is completely variable and, might I add, stressful. Now, the thing about that kind of business is the ceiling is going to be mathematical. You can only see so many patients, you can only have so many consultations, and you can only hold so much in your head at once. The harder you're going to work, the closer you get to the ceiling, and unfortunately, you're going to stay there. You don't even grow more because you've ran out of any more of you. Now, the fix is not that you do less. That is the wrong instinct. The fix is that you build the operating system that lets the work happen without you so that you can continue to grow. In Module 1 of the BI mentorship, this is exactly what we learn and implement. We enable you to document everything that lives in your head right now, including the patient journey, the team responsibilities, and the expectations, but as well the KPIs, the procedure protocols, and all the operational processes. Now, a test question, guys, the one I ask every clinic owner also on a discovery call. If you hired someone tomorrow, could they run this clinic using the only system you have written down right now? If the answer is no, that is the sixth reason your business is not growing. And it is the one that holds all the others in place. Because every other fix in this video, the consultation, the rebooking, the pricing, the database, the team, it all eventually has to live in something documented. Or it dies the moment you take a holiday and your hope of everyone simply doing what you trained them, it won't hold. Now, trust me, I thought by showing them, shadowing them, and assigning the tasks was enough. And it wasn't, and I was very frustrated. And I couldn't ever leave my company without accommodating for no income in that time. Now, notice the pattern. 6 reasons. None of them are about working harder. None of them are about more marketing, and none of them are about pricing in isolation. All of them are about structure. The consultation frameworks, the rebooking systems, the pricing models, the database assets, team protocols, and the overall operating system. There's 6 pieces. They make one thing. They make a clinic that grows without you having to push it up the hill every single Monday morning. Now, most clinic owners I meet have usually 4 of these 6 usually broken. Some have all 6, and the reason they can't see it from the inside is because they are literally inside it. Inside the eye of the storm and just plodding along. I want you to hold on to something. To start growing and tightening things up, you do not have to fix all 6 at once because that's overwhelming in itself. You fix them in the order I just walked you through. Consultation first because it changes the average appointment value the fastest. The rebooking is going to be the second because it compounds. Pricing is always going to be third because it needs the consultation to be working before you can hold the conversation. Database is fourth because it is the cheapest and fastest revenue lift in your clinic right now. The team is going to be fifth because it scales the work above the operating system, because it scales the work above. And the operating system is the sixth because it locks everything all together. 3 months on the first two alone in most clinics I work with lifts monthly revenue by about 20 to 40%. This is not forecast, this is actually fact. Now, 3 things I want you to do before next Monday. 1, audit your rebooking rate. Open your booking system and count how many patients you saw in the last 4 weeks. Count how many left with the next appointment. Write that number down. 2, pull your lapsed patient list. Anyone who hasn't rebooked in 12 weeks or more, count them. That is your unsold inventory. And 3, sit with the holiday question. If you went away tomorrow for 2 weeks, what would actually break in your clinic? Write down the list. Every line on it is a process that lives in your head and actually nobody else's. If you just simply do those 3 things, you will know by Monday morning exactly where you are. And you will know exactly what to fix first. If you've watched this video and you've recognized yourself in 3 or more of those 6 elements, I want to tell you more about the business injection. It's a 12-week program I built for clinic owners exactly in this position. It is the place where we close all of these 6 gaps in order, with all the templates, with the weekly accountability and the real operating system you can hand to a team. But guys, just to let you know, I've put a revenue and risk audit template in the description below this video. It's going to be free. It will take about 20 minutes to complete, and it scores you against the same 6 reasons I've just walked you through. If you found this useful, leave a comment below. Tell me which of the 6 is your primary problem. Even tell me your rebooking rate. Tell me what you have already tried. I read every single comment and I genuinely want to know where you are. Subscribe if you'd like more of this, and new videos drop every Thursday. I'm Nurse Sarah Louise, this is the Business Injection, and see you guys in the next one.